Hey, this is Randy Pringle, the fishing instructor, and our next little thing we're going to talk about is speeded retrieve. And I know there's so many different type of reels. You got 7-to-1, 6, 4, 5, then you got the winches, you got the 4s. Dude, what do I do? What do I do, you know? And I've talked to lots of different anglers, and everybody has their little things. So there's never a general rule, but because everybody wants to break those general rules. So let's just kind of do to the basics. Let's just get you back. Let's just get up to the plate and swing the bat. Let's just try that. First thing we're going to talk about is fast retrieve style baits. Definitely when you're fishing fast, you want to have top water baits. You know, you got to get the buzz bait up on the top, so you go to the buzz baits. Okay, so you get that buzz bait up on the top and you can work that bait. Poppers, you know, little skimmers and stuff like that. Frogs, definitely you got to use a fast retrieve style reel. And the reason for that is when that fish explodes on it, you can get up that slack that quick, you can get that slack in. Okay, so use those faster than average reels, 7-to-1, 7-to-1s. If you're going to go get a 7-to-1, that's a great time to use a top water bait with 7-to-1. Now, you might look at this one and go, what? But let me explain to you real quick. Pitching, flipping, and punching. Those style of baits, when you're fishing at that short distance, it's so important you get the slack out because the bite can come that quick. You don't want a slow working bait like you're throwing it way out of deep water and you're working it real slow. You want that methodical 5-1, 6-4 ratio reel out there working it. This is a technique, pitching, flipping, and punching, that you've got to get that line up quick. So when you're throwing these style baits, you know, where you got the jigs, the creature baits, the big worms, the power worms, you got all that kind of stuff going on, you know, you need to get that line up quick. You pitch it out there, the line hits the water as it's starting to fall, that fish eats it right then and there, happens all the time. You got to be able to get that line up and bam, set the hook, 7-to-1 ratio. Those are the ones that you want to work heavily with that 7-to-1. Now, a couple other ways you want 7-to-1 ratio reels might be for the vibration baits. Bringing these baits and tearing them across the tops of the water, so when you're working that bait, you can get that sound on those vibes. You know, you can make that bait go and rip across those weeds and tear weeds, and you can pick up the line quick with a 7-to-1 ratio reel. And that's a good opportunity if you have that reel and you want to fish this lake or that lake. Vibration baits are extremely good. Now, I know a couple anglers who fish deep water crankbaits on fast retrieve reel. They're making long casts with lighter line. You know, your 12-pound, your 10-pound test to get the bait to travel all the way down as possible. So to get that, you got to make a long cast, extremely long rods, and they're using that fast retrieve. It will go deep, but you're missing an angle of descent, because the faster you move it this way, the more it pulls away from the bill, and it won't allow it to go down. That's why on a crankbait, a slower style reel has a tendency to allow the plug to go down deeper. Now, when I talk to a couple of these guys that are really good on crankbait fishing, that fish a lot of fast retrieve reels, their concept is this: cover a lot of water and make sure that bait is down there beating on it and make that trigger bite. Not the, hey, there goes a crankbait and I'll eat it. It's a goes by, bam, he hits it on just a reaction triggering system, which works. So there's two different ways of looking at this. Slow to get it down there just to bang, bang, you know, or that real fast retrieve in that water that's that 12 or up, you can just get that trigger bite. So depending on which way you want to go it, getting 20 feet deep, it's very difficult to go 20 feet with the fast retrieve reel. You might have to go down to the slower retrieve reels. Okay, so you got your top water baits, your wake baits. Let's move to your wake baits. Your bigger style wake baits. When you're working with wake baits, that style and the real slow methodical, these are basically a top water bait. You don't want to move these too fast though. The problem with the 7-1 ratio reel when you're using these style baits, typically you're going to use bigger line. And when you use bigger line, you need a bigger reel. 6-4, 5-to-1 ratio, 5-3, that's your territory where you want to stay with this. It'll allow you just to work at a slow methodical retrieve and have that bait just to tick, and make that nice little wake. It's the exact same thing that occurs when you want to throw a swim baits. When you're starting to throw these swim baits out there and you want that slow wobble with that tail, You don't want a 7-to-1 ratio reel. You want something that's going to give you that reel clock style waggle. Chooka, 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 chooka. And it's so important to have that. Most anglers, when they go out and fish, you know, they got the wrong reel or the wrong rod designed for a different style technique. I mean, you golfers know that. How many clubs you guys? You guys got 55 clubs in a bag. I'm not sure what you got. You got 15 wedges, 17 putters. I got the this putter. I got the one that looks like this, the one I put on my chin. I got all these different kind of things going on. As you can see, I don't know anything about golf. All you hit a little white ball in a hole. But bass fishing is very similar. These are all the clubs. You've got the big spool style reels. They're big spool style reels, but they're slower. But with 25-pound test, big game, you're throwing that big swim bait, that wake bait. You don't want that real tight style reel like something like this, which I would throw a crankbait on with the smaller reel. You can't get the 25, pound test on a spool like this. So it's so important to understand what your reel can and can't do. So when you're finding out the bait that you're throwing or the rod that you're going to use, that bait, utilize the reel speed to your advantage, because the speed of the retrieve is everything when it comes to making a bass eat the bait you picked. So with all these different style of baits, there's a definite key to the way it's going to be fished, and the way it's going to be fished at its proper speed. I think you're going to catch a lot of fish. This is Randy Pringle, the fishing instructor. Let's get on those fish.